think we have someone over there.
Yes, the character Jamie Fraser, does that person exist? Is it modeled after someone that you know?
Well, I have been married for 45 years almost to a tall redhead with a good sense of humor.
Does anybody in your life ever say, hey, I said something very similar to this at one point? Or do you ever like lift from your real life?
No. Well, very seldom. I do occasionally use things that my husband says because he is very funny. So yeah, some of his jokes are present in the books, and sometimes his marginal remarks. He is the only person who reads what I'm writing while I'm writing. I usually finish things late at night, so I'll leave them on his sink when I go to bed, and he'll take them out and read them over coffee and bring them back at noon. And he has marginal notes that say things like nipples again, and, things like that. But good marginal notes as well. But he does say funny things. And in fact, the final line of Fiery Cross, if the last words I say aren't "I love you," you'll know it was because I didn't have time, or actually something he said to me one day.
Oh my gosh.
Well, see, that's why I've been married to him for 45 years.
Hi. So my mom and I went to Scotland over the summer, and our favorite place was Culloden Moor. Can you talk about did you visit before you wrote about it, or did you write about it and then visit it?
During. I wrote Outlander entirely from library research because, as I say, I was writing it for practice. I couldn't announce to my husband that I wanted to go to Scotland for 3 months to do research, especially and leave him with the 3 kids. We couldn't afford it anyway. But we sold not only Outlander, but 2 succeeding books on the same contract. So with a little money in hand, I said, well, I think I really must go and see Scotland. So we parked the kids with my parents for a couple of weeks, and we went together and, rented a car in London, drove up one side of Scotland, down the other. But we certainly stopped at Culloden, and well, you've been to Culloden, you know how evocative and how moving it is. And after we toured the field and so forth, we were sitting on a bench near the graves of the clans, where the clan stones are. And after a few minutes of silence, my husband said to me quite naturally, he says, "Where's Murtaugh?" And I said, "He's over there." And more silence. And my husband said, I can't believe that I'm getting choked up over the death of someone who doesn't exist."
Do we have time for one more?
One more question.
We'll do one more.
One more question.
I see someone right up front.
Hi, Diana. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much.
And to meet you.
Thank you.
In the Voyager, they say that it's going to begin with Culloden, and it's going to be scenes that weren't previously written in the books about what actually happened. Because when Jamie awakes, he has no memory of it.
Right.
Will you be addressing that in the later books that you write? Or did you have a say in how this was scripted? Because they were giving information that wasn't previously given. And I have a gift I'd like to give you.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah, well, in answer to your question, there is a part of Book 9, which I had already written before they began filming, in which Jamie remembers Culloden, or at least quite a lot of what happened at Culloden. And so I showed that to Merrill and Ron and Sam, since he probably would like to know that too. And so they were able to write so as to more or less not film anything that would be at complete odds with what I wrote. It's an adaptation, so it is slightly different than what I wrote. What I wrote is more complex because it's coming back to Jamie, in bits and pieces as he's talking to his sister and so forth. And so it's in the form of a conversation, whereas of course when you're filming it's in the form of an event and all that. And also Ron really likes battle scenes and so forth, and he had his own ideas how to run this. Most of what you will see in the film is actually film of the battle, which is, kind of generic as battles go, but, really well done and so forth. And you got great stuff like Jamie having a hand-to-hand fight with a British soldier who knocks him down and tries to choke him. Jamie rolls him over and they're battling, and Jamie reaches out, grabs a clump of grass, which he pulls loose, smashes it on the guy's face and smothers him with it, which is not anything I wrote, but it's not, going to contradict anything I wrote either, so you get these things. And like I said, that earlier bit where you see Jamie just, undressing for battle in this very calm, frozen sort of way, that's not anything I wrote, but you know, it's not going to be at odds with anything I wrote either, and it's a great interpolation by itself. So, you know, they coexist very nicely side by side. Yeah, I don't think you will be disturbed by anything you see in the filming, nor will you be disturbed when you read Jamie's version later in the books.
There's a lady in the front who's been waiting, so we'll do this one last question,
Okay.
and then we'll
Sure thing.
wrap.
And thank you for the present.
Okay, thank you. So this is the same question I asked Sam and Duncan and the rest of the Highlanders in
Yeah.
London this summer. But I would like to know your impression. These books have had a profound impact on millions of people's lives, mine being one.
Thank you.
Profound. And how does that feel as an artist to know that your work has profoundly impacted in a very positive way the lives of so many people?
Well, it's very, very moving and you know, gratifying when you're an artist. You can't write with the intent of affecting anyone because you don't know what your effect may be. You just have to do it the best way you can, and if things are lucky, you will. Okay, I don't usually tell people this unless they ask a very specific sort of question, but I said I've known since I was 8 that I was meant to be a writer. I was you know, very into books for an 8-year-old and so forth. Anyway, I was going somewhere with my parents in a car and so forth, and you know, I was sent to a Catholic school and so forth, and they were saying, you know, prayers, you know, just conversation with God, you know, when you're quiet, just, you know, have a talk with God. And so, you know, I had been trying this on and off. Anyway, I was just sort of talking with God by and large, and you know, I said something like, you know, what I think I really want to do is write books. I want to write the kind of books that lift people up. And he said, that's okay.